Yes, I'm Jean Pedersen. I live in Laramie, Wyoming, and have been a PD coach for 9 years. And I'm also an associate director in the PD department now. We're getting ready for a move to Dallas in a couple of months, so we'll be down there.
And I'm Mark Broad, and I think you guys know me, but we'll just go ahead and say it again. I work out of the Orlando office here, and half my job is being a PD coach and trainer, and also helping with some of the technical stuff with the PD department. And then my other part of my job is working with the development, orientation, and training team, mostly working with the different programs such as EQUIP, Stateside Connection, and Wycliffe Connection. So that's who we are.
So we're going to run this a little bit as a panel discussion. So we've come with a bunch of prepared questions that I'm going to ask our panel members, and they're going to talk us through the personal missionary page details and that sort of thing. But again, especially if you've just joined us, please, if you have questions at any time, just go ahead and turn on your mic and ask, and what you guys want to know is what we want to give you. So please, like I said, feel free to interrupt at will. We're going to get started with just the basic question of what is a personal missionary page? Why do we want to have a personal missionary page? If I could speak English. Why do we want to have a personal missionary page? How can I use it? Why is that important?
Is that a question you wanted answered? Okay. Why have a personal missionary page? It's a way that you can send a link to people, and they can go onto the wycliffe.org and see your page. It's personalized. It's Wycliffe featuring you. And then it's an easy way for people to click buttons and partner in your ministry. Because it's Wycliffe featuring us, we do write the personal note in the third person. So as if Wycliffe is saying, Dave and Jean Pedersen, da 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 da, you know. And we
Can I give an example of that, Jane? Like you said, to do it in third person. What does it sound like to do that?
Yeah. Okay. So Dave and Jean Pedersen have been with Wycliffe since 1985. They're working in the HR department and so forth. We invite you to prayerfully consider partnering in their Wycliffe ministry. So a little description about the job and really how it relates to Bible translation is best, which I didn't give that example. Mark, would you add anything?
Yeah, I think that, obviously we think that people going to wycliffe.org or to your personal missionary page are going there to give online. I think we'll show it a little bit later then too, is that actually on your personal missionary page, underneath the give button, there's a link that says other giving options. And so if they click on that, there's several different options, but the main ones being Wycliffe's street address, Wycliffe's telephone number, hours of operation. And the reason we do this is that we know a lot of times people will go to the internet to get information, but there are some people who would never give their bank information or sign up or pay for anything online. Now those people are becoming fewer and fewer, but the thing is, there's still the group out there who will just go get information, and then they'll call Wycliffe the 1-800 number, or they'll send a check in to the Wycliffe address. And so we try and reach all different groups. We try and make it as easy as possible on them to give to your Wycliffe ministry. So.
Thinking about, again, so we were talking about like writing our personal missionary page and writing our description in third person. Once you've written that, do you need to get that checked by anybody? Can you just post it at will? What's that look like?
Right now, the current system is what we really encourage people to do is if you have a PD coach or a launch coordinator or resource coordinator, have somebody just take a look at it and just to see what's there. Sometimes just another set of eyes is great in finding, oh, I didn't really mean that sentence to sound like that, and and other common errors that people would make. Now, anytime somebody does make an edit to their personal missionary page, notice is sent to the PD inbox and our email box, and so we get to see what your page looks like. It doesn't highlight what editing changes you made, but we can just take a look at it as a whole. Is the picture okay? Did they write it in third person? Did they do their personal invitation page right? But the thing is that it's really best not to depend upon the PD coaches to find that, because sometimes it might be 2 or 3 days before we can actually get to an email address. We try and answer it, or an email or request. We try and do that as quickly as we can. But here's the thing: once you hit submit at the bottom, and if you've got it open, searchable on wycliffe.org, it's gone live right away. And so we really encourage you that if you're in the process of building your personal missionary page, don't make it searchable on wycliffe.org, or don't give the link out to anybody until you've got it into fairly good condition. You like the picture, the wording is good, you've had the text approved, or at least somebody looking at it. Because it has been, I've run into a few cases where it's been kind of embarrassing, where people put up this kind of a funky picture just as a place mark on there, or they just the wording was their grammar wasn't very good and their spelling wasn't very good, and so that doesn't reflect upon a linguistic organization when you have people writing stuff it's just not the best. So just be careful what you put up there, because it goes live right away.
And Mark, maybe you can go ahead and take us over there and kind of talk us through like what makes a great personal missionary page. You know, there's all those different elements. How do you do those different elements well?
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now and bring stuff over here. So just forgive all the mess that's on my desktop here. Okay, so we're going to try and hide a few things here. And let's just take a look at the personal missionary page now. Just before I hit Jen's question, one of the main reasons we have it is that, or that you would want one, is that if somebody comes to wycliffe.org and they're going to be looking for you, so they come up here to a missionary or find a missionary page, and they type in your name and you don't come up, then they start to wonder, is this person really with Wycliffe? Now, we realize that not everybody can have their page searchable on wycliffe.org, because what that means, if it's searchable on wycliffe.org, then that means you'll be Google searchable. And obviously we work in a lot of countries around the world where we don't want people to be able to be Google searched. So be careful with it, but it just, I guess, kind of summarizing that, if somebody says, hey, I went to wycliffe.org, didn't find you, the reason is that you don't either don't have a personal missionary page, or two, it's not searchable, and so then you can explain to them. All right, but let's just go ahead and start answering Jen's question right now. Kind of like a politician, where I like to get my info out there, just tied to other information. Okay. You know, okay, so are we on here now as far as our personal missionary page? And you can see that ours is fairly short and it's succinct. It is written in the third person, and then you can see we do have the invitation right, and we're going to talk a little more about that later on. But here's the idea that if you're allowed up to 750 characters, and if you use all of those, then depending on what device that they're using, whether it be a phone or an iPad or the computer screen, they may have to scroll down and scroll down and scroll down to see it all. And people's minds, people's eyes don't work well when there's a whole lot of text on the screen. So it's better to be short rather than long. What point do you want to get across? And leave them always wanting more with that. Jean, anything you want to throw in that before I say some more stuff?
I have noticed that the 750, it doesn't cut off at 750 characters. And so some people make a really, really long, like you've said, Mark. So while it's not, I don't think it's absolutely, it has to be 750 characters, that we do very much encourage short, succinct, and like Mark said, what message are you trying to get across?
Okay, just a couple other things to point across here is that you can see that it's on the left-hand side here. In case you haven't seen a personal missionary page, there is the position. And once we will go to our to a dashboard a little bit later on in this, just to point out some different gotchas or different things to note. So you can see, since Deb and I are both members, we actually just decided to divide it into two just to make it easier for people to assimilate what we're trying to get across. We talk about the Americas area that we're serving in. We'll also talk about that. If people just want to send you a note of encouragement, by using this feature here, they can send a note through the Wycliffe website so that you don't have to have your email address visible. And so that's just a security issue, and it's a great way for people just secure for them and secure for you, as far as not disseminating your email address to the whole world. And then, of course, if they want to sign up to pray for you or to receive your newsletter, then they can just use this feature here. And before we go off this page here or other questions, I do want to point out is that we do have a brief explanation about what our ministry budget here. It's just kind of a one-size-fits-all description of Wycliffe members. Now, what I don't have here, and maybe I should have brought a sample, is that those people who have a launch expense account, they also have the option of including that on their personal missionary page. But when they have a launch expense account, this box here will then move to the top between the give box and your personal missionary page. And then, so this may be something that you're going to have to educate your readers or your constituency on, because either the brief description about your ministry budget or the brief description about a launch expense account will be showing, and they'll have to choose which one they want to see. They'll have to choose which one they want to give towards. And so it's actually worked quite well. But we've oftentimes got the question, for the launch expense people, have that, I really would like that stuff at the bottom. Well, this is kind of a one-size-fits-all. If you don't have a launch expense account, this is going to be at the bottom. That can't be changed. If you have a launch expense combined with your ministry budget, it's going to be up in this area here, and that can't be changed. We made a decision, and we can't do personal requests for that. There's just too much programming involved. Okay. I think I'll stop share screen. And
well, actually, before we move too far away from what you were just showing us, you mentioned briefly the photo that goes with it. And I know I've seen people do that photo poorly, thinking that they're doing it well. So maybe what are some general principles about how to have a proper photo?
Okay. Well, actually, so I'm going to share my screen again here. And actually what I'd like to go to now is just the dashboard, because I think that this will help. And so I'm going to come here to, we'll get that right yet. Okay, so if, we're kind of jumping here a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and show you. I've already signed into wycliffe.org. And so now I'm going to go to my dashboard. And just let it rise up here. And so let's just go ahead and go straight down here to where that you can load the picture. Sometimes we have problems, and nobody can figure out why, is that when the member clicks on browse for the first time, the pop-up comes up like this, but it doesn't have the add new button here. It's actually got a blue and white avatar, just a profile of a person, and then overlaid again. So if you're having that problem, the best way to take care of that is, first of all, is if you're using a PC, hit the F5 button to see if refreshing your screen will take care of that. If not, then just try using a different browser. If you're using Internet Explorer, try Chrome. If you're using Chrome, try Firefox. Using Firefox, try Internet Explorer. For some reason, just changing the browser will usually take care of that. Almost, in fact, it always has taken care of that problem. But if not, Jen is going to provide a list of resource materials, and one of those is our partnership development email address. And so just write to us, and we'll see if we can't figure out what's going on. Okay, so what makes a good picture is that...
Hold on just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
We can't hear you. Megan, we can't hear you. I'm not sure why. It doesn't look like you're muted.
I wonder if your microphone's not set up properly for it. If you can't get it going, perhaps you can put your question in the chat box.
She said that she has the issue that you just mentioned.
Okay, so just try changing the browser, Megan, and see if that doesn't. So go to sign in. If you've set up your dashboard, you can get access to your dashboard. Just log into wycliffe.org using a different browser.
She said she figured it out by going to the photo bank.
Okay. All right.
She added photos to her photo bank and then was able to choose one to display.
Okay. So that's a great workaround. So appreciate that. So here's the thing: is that the way this page is designed, we really want a picture that's 3 parts wide by 2 parts high. In other words, landscape rather than portrait. You may have trouble loading it if it's portrait, or you may just get a really small picture. So choose a picture that's, if you can, that's landscape. You notice that even if I change the where the crop box moves around, which I can make it bigger or smaller, move it around, I cannot change the proportion of it. It's going to stay the same. I don't know what I did. I just got rid of the crop box. So I'm going to get out of that and come back in and see if I can get it again.
I think you can draw it. If you click and draw, I think it'll reappear.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Man, I've learned all sorts of stuff today. Okay, there we go. And then just once you get the crop box to then go ahead and hit save and use. But remember, just make sure that you always click submit at the bottom right here. Otherwise, you won't save your changes, and then it will be all for naught. Okay. Once you click on submit, then you can go to your page or click view, and that'll take you to your actual page on wycliffe.org so you can see what it looks like. Okay. Any other questions before I stop sharing and move this off?
Yeah, maybe since we're already at the screen, if we just kind of walk through the different areas. Does that make sense?
Okay. All right, Gene.
If you guys have questions, feel free to cut in.
All right, Gene. So using my screen here, tell me what you want to say about this first part here. Okay, you need to unmute, Gene.
Sorry, yeah. The first line, you can personalize your link rather than have a bunch of numbers and letters. Put something that will help people understand that's yours and help them remember it. So yeah, Mark is showing you. Mark, you need to say B-O-R.
Oh, there we go. I went too far. There we go. Oh, it's great to have a checker on that.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to save it anyway. Okay, go ahead.
I think the name is automatically there, isn't it?
No. When you first open up your page for the very first time, there's a long security string of about 30 or 40 characters. And let me really encourage you to change that and make it something more memorable, easier for people to put in. Now, the thing is, if you're working in a secure area, and we'll talk about security in a little bit, it's probably best not to use even your first names, especially if you have one that's not very common. And so some people have used like a phrase, beginning of a scripture verse, although it gets a little bit long sometimes, but just something that's, I just saw one girl, her name was, we'll call her Samantha, in Central Africa. Okay, so that's where she's working in a secure area, but she used a pseudonym and just told, and so it was just easy for people to remember that.
I've also seen people, a lot of people have like special newsletter names. They'll have their paper, something special is using that as sort of a personal branding thing.
And that's what we did, because we're the Borlands who work in Orlando. That's what, part of our newsletter name is the Borlandos. So.
The next thing you can personalize is the job. Like Mark said, they put in 2. And so instead of just having 1, they did the plus sign and separated what they do. And then the third thing you can personalize is your personal note. Again, short, cast, vision, invite. And the page that Mark was showing with the instructions gives a lot of examples on what a personal invitation should look like.
In fact, let's go to that page after we get done with this one, Jean, just so we can point out some different things on there. One thing before we go any further is that you can actually then change your name up here if you would like. And for a lot of people working in secure areas, they'll just go ahead and put their first and last name, so the first names without their last name. And so you can do that and hit click submit. And so when it shows up, it'll say on their personal page, it'll say for the Wycliffe Ministry of Bob and Dallas. And so that way their last name is never shown on the page here either.
Does that affect the search feature?
Their first names will still show up, so people could search. But if you are worried about a sensitive area and you can get your last name here, you're probably not going to be searchable on wycliffe.org. Okay, so as long as you have Mark and Deb, that's all you would still be searchable on that. Now this next section here, this is kind of a dinosaur because we've had to modify the PMP because of security issues. And what this used to be is that if you went to wycliffe.org, you could click on where do we work around the world. And so what this did is this took a compilation, and so it showed a picture of the world and different places. And if you zoomed in, you could see different people who we've had to take that down because of security issues. So this information never shows up on your personal page, and now it never shows up on wycliffe.org either. So you can just ignore it. But if you're worried about it, just hit the X, and that'll get rid of all the information that's in there. In fact, just click. Now you can just see it's gone, but it really doesn't go anywhere. As you come down here to children, we suggest just putting 1 child per line, and that's for each child. Just keep on hitting the add button, and that makes it just a little bit cleaner then on your personal site. Jean, you want to talk about the website?
Yeah, if you have a personal blog, you can put the link to it there. Anything else?
Or personal web page. Some people have personal web pages. And actually, this is the only place on your personal missionary page where you can have a link, a live link. If you try and put a URL, a hyperlink inside your personal notes section, it will not save as a hyperlink, and that's done for security reasons once again. The text will be there, but people won't be able to click on it inside your personal note. And where that will appear is that it will appear here on the serving in, and it'll have their website. Since we don't have a personal blog or personal web page, it automatically just shrinks that and doesn't leave like a website with a blank place there. It just gets rid of it. Okay. All right. Oops, wrong page.
You might maybe mention the shutdown, emergency shutdown.
Okay.
But before we do,
yeah.
Sorry.
Searchable. Okay, yeah.
So there is one place actually, let's go to the Americas area here first, or the regions. This will show up, and this is a searchable function on wycliffe.org. People want to maybe find somebody who's serving the Americas or the Africa. Now we've gotten the question, Well, I work in the Americas. My office is here, but I make trips all the time over to Germany for stuff. You can add all 5 here if you want to, but that gets a little bit. I only know 1 or 2 people who have done that because I travel all over the world. But let me encourage you just to, if you are a new member or you're getting ready to go overseas, I would encourage you, say for example, that you're going to be serving in Papua New Guinea. I would suggest that you just put, Pacific on there, because that's where you're going to be serving in a month or 2. You're not really serving here in the U.S. You're just getting ready to go overseas. Especially once you do arrive or you're leaving the next day, for sure you would want to put the Pacific area on there. So I'm going to put America's back here because that's where we serve. Get out of that. There is quite a bit we need to talk about with this, the searchable feature here. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was distracted. If you said something about children, if we have adult children, do we mention that or do we just leave it off?
For the most part, you're going to have to make that decision yourself. What would you put on your prayer card? Is it just?
It's just the 2 of us.
Okay, then I would suggest that. Now, sometimes people would put in this area adult children, and just fill it out that way. But if they're not really living with you, they're in college, they're not on your prayer card, and especially if they're not shown in your picture, then I would say just leave your more adult children off of there.
Okay,
we do. If you want to put your children and grandchildren on there, I haven't shut that down, but it does get really distracting because it's really not. It's not supposed to be a grandparent brag book. Okay,
right?
It's a personal missionary page is what we're looking
at.
Okay. Now, Jean, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and talk a little about the searchable on here. This is a very powerful tool here. And once you select it, and so remember we talked about before that if you don't have this selected, people can go to wycliffe.org and will not be able to find you. We are in the process of changing this wording on here. Hopefully pretty soon you'll see this a little bit different, but here's a basic premise, is that if you're searchable on wycliffe.org, as I mentioned before, you're subject to Google searches. And for many of us, that's not a problem. In fact, we like that. But if you are working in a sensitive area and have not selected this button, and so all is good as far as you know. So how will people know, or how are people able to get to your page? Well, the way that they're going to get to your page is that you're going to give them this link here. And then you're going to put that in your newsletter. You're going to put that in your email updates. You may just a regular email. But here's the caution, is that you're going to need to educate your people so that to tell them, please do not put our link and our names on your Facebook post. Please don't put it in your blog that's public. Please don't put it in the church website, because once that happens, that has now become public. And even though they can't search for you on wycliffe.org, they will find you either using a Google search or Bing or Yahoo. And it's very, very difficult to get rid of those search results. And so I've been working with several people where they basically had to start all over again and develop a new URL up here, because this one had become tainted because it's been posted in so many different public places. So if you're going to be working in sensitive area, you're going to have to do a lot of educating and re-educating your constituency, is to only click on it, use it. Don't copy and paste it into their own materials, because even if it's in a PDF format, we found that the search engines will find it in a PDF document that's posted somewhere. These things are just stinking crazy. These search engines are stinking powerful, and they will, if they can find it, if we allow them to find it, they will. So, okay, I'm getting down off my my soapbox for a little bit, Jean.
Okay, I apologize. I'm needing to leave. I'm going to a memorial service, so carry on.
Okay. Oh, sorry I took so much time on that. Okay, let's talk, answer Jen's question. You'll see that on your dashboard, here's this emergency shutdown, and I noticed that it says emergency. And so what do you think that means? That doesn't mean just because I want to get rid of it, because I don't think I need it anymore, people aren't using it for whatever means, because if you click on this button and click on the succeeding button, it will send out alarms. It will notify HR. It will call the person who's monitoring the tech ops help desk 24/7, even in the middle of the night, saying, hey, so-and-so may be in trouble because they had to do an emergency shutdown on their personal missionary page. So it's more than just shutting it down. It's notifying the appropriate personnel within Wycliffe that you may be in. Now, don't depend upon this to notify the security personnel. You should already have those, what you're going to be doing, put into a document or whatever, a checklist, and working with your entity on that. But yeah, so please don't use this unless it's absolutely necessary, because it is an emergency only. All right, Jen, are we ready to get off this page? Any other questions before we leave this page? Okay, I'm going to move this over, and what do we want to talk about next, Jen?
We kind of alluded to it a little bit. When you're writing your little paragraph, what does it look like to include an invitation to partner? Do you have to do that? If you do, what does that look like?
Okay, so I mean, in your personal note, what would?
The invitation to partner.
Oh, invitation to partnership. Okay, let's actually go to the page that, let's go to the page that Jean was referring to later on, because it has some good examples on there. So I'm going to bring this back over. And before we go there, to the instructions, I just wanted to point out that in case you forget where to find these, if you go to the home page of Unity, click on Staff Resources and then PD Resources. On the lower left-hand icon here's a Personal Missionary page. If you click on that, that will then take you to a PDF, which you can follow through instructions one by one to help you out. So just a shortcut that I'm just going to go directly to that page. And then we're going to come down here to where Jen was referring to. So we're going to come back to accessing your personal missionary page for the first time. Let's just go ahead and jump down. And that's what this first part of the document is but starting with point 11, it highlights some of the same features that we've already talked about changing your personal URL, making something that's usable. Here's the talking about the personal notes section. If you've got any questions, let me encourage you, and once again, this is going to be included on the resource material that Jen is going to make available about this table talk, and that is expressing financial needs, the terminology guidelines, and it's all written because we want to do things the right way with the government, with the IRS, word things the right way. And so some of the samples that we've given here, you'll notice that these are all invitation. It's a personal invitation given by Wycliffe on your behalf. And a couple of the key points is that you'll notice that it doesn't say please, doesn't say, hey, please prayerfully consider partnering with Mark and Deb. Okay? It has to be with Mark and Deb in their Wycliffe ministry. Those are two key components there, is that you have to include the Wycliffe ministry part there. Why can't you just put ministry? Well, I don't know I know some missionaries who have kind of a side ministry alongside, whether it be street kids or whatever. And so the IRS does not want that to be a funnel for the side ministries. So that's why we always include Wycliffe with that. And this is true not only for your personal missionary page, but it's also true for your newsletters. Okay, Jen, any other questions or think we ought to think about on that?
Some people have kind of asked, what if I have a project that I need to raise money towards? Am I able to talk about that on my PMP?
We are encouraging people, for the most part, to really focus on their personal missionaries. That's why it's called a personal missionary page. And as a matter of fact, if you do have a project that's been approved, you can, there is a page available for you to do that. Just contact, I believe it's Andy Keener, and working through advancement, because there's a whole give page that can be dedicated to your, to that. For example, a lot of people have to have set up, and they can't put it in their personal ministry budget. So because it's $10,000, for example. I'm not sure the exact cutoff figure. So you can have your own personal page, and you can just say, although it shouldn't be the main focus, if you're interested in giving towards the whatever the project's name is, please contact us or something like that on there. Okay, but really the focus on the personal note should be on your own ministry budget, whether it be the U.S.-based ministry budget or the foreign-based ministry budget. That's our intent for it. Okay, well, I've got the floor here. Let me just go ahead and start, because I'm hoping that this video will be watched by perhaps some newbies or some people doing this for the first time. And let me just point out some of the different things that have been kind of gotchas on here. And one thing is, let me, as you do it, follow the instructions. I know sometimes you think, oh, I've done this type of stuff before, I know what I'm doing, but if you don't do the things in the right order, it will get messed up. And then we can fix it, but it's just a whole lot easier than everybody if you go ahead and just follow the instructions, even though you think you may know how to do it. One of the things I want to highlight, first of all, if there's any doubt whatsoever as to whether or not you should have a personal missionary page, or if you should take security precautions with it, please contact your entity of assignment, because every entity of assignment is supposed to have their guidelines for their members assigned to them, what they can and can't have as far as invitation to partnership, what they can say in their newsletters, and what about a personal missionary page for them. Okay, so I'm not going to go over every point on here, but I didn't want to come to point 5 is the next one, is that generally you're going to be using your Wycliffe or your JARS or your SIL or your seed company address to do that. Now, if you have a Wycliffe and an SIL one, and the first one, as you follow the instructions, doesn't work, well, then try your SIL one or try your JARS one to see if that will work. If you're a new member and sometimes the system doesn't get switched over on a timely basis, so your dashboard may still be tied to your Gmail account or your other personal email address. And so if your official Wycliffe or JARS or SIO one does not work, then try using your personal one. And if that doesn't work, then contact us at the PD box. That will. Point 7 here. A lot of times people think that their password has to be the same one they use for Unity or Insight. You can use any password that you want. The only requirement for the password is you have to remember what it is. And so choose one that you will remember what it is. And you can always go through this process again and reset your password, so that's not a problem. Coming down here to point 11, we've already hit this one, is that the emergency shutdown, but is for that note on there. And I think as we go down just a little bit further, I already talked about the problems with a photo and some people not being able to load it. And just changing the browser has been met with success. And if you do need to shut down your PMP, as you come down here, the best thing to do is just to go ahead and contact the PD box, and we will work you through the process and make sure. And there's really 2 types of shutdowns. One is I need to shut it down because it's a security issue, and that takes certain things to happen. And then it's just a shutdown because I don't like it anymore, and which is an easier thing to do. So those are the instructions. if you have questions for us, please write to the PD box, and we'd be glad to help you out with that. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing.
You might want to show them how to access the PD inbox.
Okay. Well, it's just there's several different ways. Let's I think if we go to the PD email box is what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's the place that they would go to send questions. It'd be good to.
Okay, well, it's going to be on the resource thing, but I think that if we start with PD help under contact us, here's our address right here. So if you don't have the resource material that Jen's going to have, and actually once you start typing in partnership _ it's probably going to show up as long as you have the Wycliffe USA directory loaded. It's going to pull it up, but that's the full one right there. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No.
If we could kind of circle back a little bit back to, we talked about only use the emergency button to pull it down if there's an emergency. What if I want to take it down and it's not an emergency?
Okay, going back to this page here, I'm sorry if I'm scrolling so fast here, but you can shut it down. What you can do, you need to do two things. One is first of all, make it unsearchable on wycliffe.org. Okay, you saw where to do that on your dashboard. Just deselect that button and click submit so it saves. But then go ahead and let's just go to your dashboard. The second thing you need to do is you need to change the URL. So what a lot of people will do is just hit, because they want to keep it or maybe come back to it later on. What you could do is just do this, dash shutdown. Okay, so and then click submit at the bottom. So you've done two things. You've changed your URL, and you've changed and you deselected this. Okay, that will in a sense nobody can find it. If they go searching for you on wycliffe.org, they're not going to find you because you have made yourself non-searchable. If they try using the old link that you gave them, it won't work anymore because you added to it, and so it won't come to that. So that's really a simple process to do it. And as I said, if you did it because of security reasons, then you need to let us know, contact us, because there are certain things we'll have to contact the search engines like Google and Yahoo and Bing and stuff like that to make it so even the old results still aren't searchable. Okay, Jen, I'm so glad that you're helping me keep straight of what we need to do here. Now, one of the questions that we did have is in this personal note, do you have to include an invitation of partnership? And the answer is no. A lot of times they look at it and it says, you're for the Wycliffe ministry, and so it's pretty obvious. And so people say, I don't want to put this on here, and that's fine. They're using this personal note more as a information type page, but if people want to give, then they still can. So no, you don't have to add a personal invitation here, written in the correct form, but you can if you want to. Now, one more question.
Andy,
yeah, go ahead.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah. How did you get that extra space? I tried to put in an extra space in mine, and I couldn't get it to actually.
Well, okay. So that's been there for a while. I think. Whoops, wrong place. I thought that I had just put. Here I thought I had just put a. So you tried that and it didn't work?
I just tried putting in an extra space. Yeah, right there.
Okay, and it didn't work.
At least it didn't show up in the view. Maybe.
Did you click on submit before you checked the view? Did you save it before?
No. Well, no. I guess I didn't. I thought we were supposed to view it before we submitted it.
No. That's a great point, Andy. Is that this view, we tried to make it to be a preview, and with the system we had to get this. It wasn't a preview.
Okay.
Okay. So once you're viewing what your page actually looked like. So try it again with just clicking enter and see if, and then clicking submit and then view to see if that helps you.
Okay.
Okay, because it just reverted back to the old one is what that did.
That's
Okay.
what it looked like. Yeah.
Okay. So here's another question for you, for the group here, and that is, can people from overseas use your personal missionary page? Let's just go to the personal missionary page itself. And the answer is they have to, as far as I know, they have to have a US dollar bank account in order to make that happen. If they can't give in US dollars, then I don't believe that they can give online here. Now, I wish I could be 100% because it's always changing. But here's a great possibility for them to use, and that is, say you have Canadian friends. Well, they can give through Wycliffe Canada, okay? And so Wycliffe Canada will then take out their portion. I speak from experience because it just happened to us. We have friends, Canadian friends who gave. So they went to the Canadian Wycliffe Canada, gave through their website, and then we got notice of that. Now it gave just marginal information, but it did, in the notes we got from Wycliffe Canada, it did give their name, or at least the name of their country, and then it took out a certain percentage. Okay, that's given to Orlando, where there's a certain, well, they then do they automatically then do the conversion between Canadian dollars and US dollars. And so, but Wycliffe USA will not take out additional 10%. So that's a positive. So Wycliffe Canada will take out their percentage. Then there's the difference between the Canada and US dollar, and then what will show up on Unity or on your statement will be the final amount without the 10% from Wycliffe on there. So that's the best way for people to give online. Now there's one more question that I always get, is there something that we can use so people can give online without having a personal missionary page? And so I'm just going to type this in. So if you give them this link, www. Okay, so I'm going to come here, but instead of saying, if you put in the term partner team, if I could just type, and then click, so nothing, it's all generic. If you go here now, what this does is it takes them to the giving page on wycliffe.org, but you can see your photo is not resident here, your personal information is not here. And so even if you don't have a personal missionary page, you can give people that link, wycliffe.org/partner-team, all one word. Now they have to enter your name and or 6-digit finance number, and of course, and then the process will just start from there. So that's how people without a personal missionary page can still use the online giving process. So that's kind of a freebie there. So wycliffe.org/partner-team, partner-team being all one word. Okay, Jen, what else do we need to talk about? Or Andy, anybody else have any questions?
The other question that I've gotten is members who are getting ready to retire. And so, how far out do I still, if I'm going to retire in a few months, I'm going to retire in a year, can I still get a personal missionary page? Okay,
so here's the deal. If you have a personal missionary page on the day that you retire, you can keep it. You'll want to change the wording perhaps a little bit instead of giving to you. Now, it won't change, the top of it won't change as far as saying, give to the retirement pension, Wycliffe Retirement Pension Fund, but you can change the personal wording in your personal notes section, and still people will still be able to give to your Wycliffe Retirement Fund or Pension Fund through your personal missionary page, and that's not a problem. But if you retire without a personal missionary page, you're out of luck. You can no longer get one. So that's, if you're getting close to retirement, you might want to go ahead and get one set up, just so you can have one in case you decide to use it in the future. So that's hopefully that's clear on that. Okay. If you think you might want one after you retire, get it set up before that magical day that you you sign that paperwork, or that paperwork becomes effective. Okay. Anything else? I think I've talked about most stuff that I wanted to talk about.
I think we've hit about everything. I want to kind of say again, if you have questions as you're setting it up or you get stuck, you go ahead and use the PD inbox that Mark was referring to earlier, and somebody will get back to you and be able to help you in that way.
Yeah. And just one more thing. Sometimes people have trouble loading a picture. And so if you can go ahead and contact me, probably the best thing to do is go ahead, once you put it in the PD box, and just say, hey, here's my problem, and that will get transferred to me. But if you want to go direct, you can just go ahead and put mark_Borland@wycliffe.org, and just say, and attach your picture to the email. Don't embed it in the email. And I'll take a look at it just to see if because I do have special permissions, and I can go in the back and I can actually load people's pictures if necessary. But generally, I try to teach people how to fish rather than just giving them the fish. So I will walk through it just a little bit. And here's the most common error, is that our system is very persnickety, and a lot of times in the name of your picture, it will put IMG_3321 with a JPEG. Well, in our system, you can't use special characters, which would include like a space or that underscore, and therefore the system will reject it. So it's better just to go ahead and rename the picture, make sure it's under 5 meg, and see if you can't load it that way. That's a very common error, is they don't look at the file name on the picture, and that'll keep them from loading the picture. So, wow, all this stuff just starts popping out of the problems that people have with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Well, then let me just say, the Personal Missionary page has been a great tool for people. It's not perfect, and we'd like to change some of the things on it, but we are locked into a system. And so it's basically an off-the-shelf system that we bought as far as wycliffe.org, and so we've been working with that. So if you got suggestions, please feel free to give those, but don't be surprised if we have to say, great suggestion, but we're locked into that. We can't change, where the location of certain things are, and that type of thing. So just be understanding with that. And just as a personal plug for it, if any online person or entity, let's say like Amazon, gets more than a 50% completion rate, they are very, very happy. Even us, people who are just kind of shopping around. We've had about an 80% completion rate with our Personal Missionary page, so we're really happy with this, basically simplicity of it. We'd like it to do a few more things, but really it has not been a factor it hasn't been a hurdle for people to give online. So we're happy with it, even though it could always be made better. So that's just kind of an FYI as far as the system that we have.
Is there anything else?
No. If you keep me on here, I could fill up the whole hour, but I'm done, Jen.
We're just getting to right at the end. And so.
Okay.
All right, well, we will get this recording out to you. I'll try to put it together, a few of the resources that Mark has been mentioning as we're going along, so that you have easy access to those links. The resource page where you registered has most of the information, and so I'll just add the few that came up as we were talking. Again, we'll get that to you by the end of the day. And so let's just kind of take a minute and pray, and we'll close out.
Okay.
Well, Lord, we thank you for this time that you've given us, for the technology that you've given us to be able to share this information, to offer our members the information they need for their Wycliffe ministry. God, we pray that you'd be with each of our members as they build their Personal Missionary page, that you would give them wisdom about the information that they're sharing, and that you would help the technology to work for them well. We pray that you'd go forward with each of us, and that we would have your protection and sense you moving along with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Jen, for your help on this.
Hey,
Thanks for everybody else for
thanks for everybody coming
in.
Have a great day.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Trying to stop the recording. It's not working.